You know, for many of us it is easy to say that thing X, Y, and Z are obvious, and thus they have no place to be mentioned in a video. Everyone knows all these things anyway, right? Well, wrong. As we speak, many players are still buying and getting into Overwatch, many of which are wondering how they can optimize their gameplay experience and be of maximum effectiveness on ranked. I figured that many channels, including myself actually, did not find a lot of value in bringing up basics because of the countless amounts of videos that were made on that topic in the very beginning around launch. The launch of Overwatch is but a far memory by now. The game has changed a lot with many patches that tosses a lot of the tips mentioned in these old pieces of content upside down. So it's not only that many players who played since the very beginning progressed further and developed new, more efficient techniques of approaching rank play, a bunch of us are also, quite frankly, fairly overconfident. So it is for both of these players, the new guys, but also the people who think they know everything while forgetting their basics, that we are going to talk about how to optimize their gameplay experience on ranked. And for starters, we'll talk about ranked preparation. That includes everything from your setup to the options menu and finally gameplay specific things as well. So without further ado, let's get right into it. What's worth noting about this video is that this is not a do or die kind of list that every player needs to follow under any circumstances, by any means. In fact, most players just do whatever they want anyway. But whether you're new to the game or spent some time on ranked already, providing all these things that we're about to discuss will make sure that you enter competitive play as well prepared as you can. The first thing you want to look at is your setup. Hearing audio cues is very important on ranked, so playing with headphones rather than on speakers is certainly advised. When talking about digital 7.1 surround versus Dolby Atmos, I feel it's kind of a question of preference. I personally prefer Dolby Atmos because it gives me a more accurate sense for direction and distance than digital 7.1 surround, which makes everything sound a little more washed out by comparison. If you do opt for Dolby Atmos, don't forget that it only works if you turn off any 7.1 audio enhancement that comes with your headset. Coordination is just as important, so if you have a microphone, then that's obviously gonna come in handy. Next to simple coordination of your team's ultimates and movement, your microphone is also kind of like a lifeline. As much as people try to listen themselves, it's easy to miss things, so if you spotted something your team might not have, then being able to quickly tell them via microphone is obviously very convenient. When it comes to your mouse and keyboard, just make sure you have enough space. You don't want your mouse bumping into your keyboard, and obviously I'm assuming that you already found your preferred DPI and sense config, which is important in performing as well as you can. There are a lot of guides out there that can help you in finding the perfect DPI and sensitivity combo that suits your preferred playstyle and environment. There is no universally perfect setup, just find whatever feels most natural to you. Make sure your crosshair does not take up too much screen space while not making it so small that you'll lose it in the middle of the action. Playing with different levels of transparency can help. When it comes to your monitor, high refresh is obviously the way to go if you want to be hyper competitive. 120 to 144 Hz is a good sweet spot, and these types of monitors are also becoming more affordable by the month. Always make sure that you can actually run the frame rate that your monitor supports. If you want a standard 60 Hz monitor, then having 120 FPS is not the greatest of benefits. Just make sure that your graphics settings are set up in a way that you never drop below the refresh rate of your monitor. Also, this may sound weird at first, but make sure you sit straight while playing. Your monitor should be directly online with your eyes. You don't want to have to strain your neck with either looking up or looking down too harshly. Again, as weird as that might sound, posture and monitor positioning is something that matters, especially for longer gaming sessions. And for some finishing touches in the options menu, kill feed display on so you can always see who is still alive and who is not without having to press tab. Auto join for a group voice chat to make sure you're always in the voice channel that benefits the entirety of your team the most. Turn VSync off under any circumstances because it really messes with perceived input delay. And lastly, I would also highly recommend to maximize your field of view so you can see as much as possible. With the technical stuff out of the way, let's talk gameplay. There are a few things you should know and be good at before stepping into competitive to make sure you can support your teams as well as possible rather than being dead weight. As you might already know, just one player not pulling the weight can make winning a match significantly more difficult. The first thing you should do is spend some time with every single hero in the game. Give them all at least a few hours of gameplay. That's good for multiple reasons. For one thing, it allows you to get a feeling for how players generally use their abilities, how long their cooldowns are, and it makes anticipating how much ultimate charge they have easier as well. Overall, it's just supposed to give you an easier time trying to predict what any player on any hero is going to do at any given time. And that's just way easier when having haven't played them yourself. The other reason is because you want to make sure you squeeze every last bit of potential out of yourself. You know, people suggest to try and get good with 1 or 2 heroes in every category, but here's what I would suggest. Just spend some time with every hero and see what sticks. It's literally as simple as that. Players usually have the most fun on heroes they feel they do well on. So whatever you feel you just have a natural talent for is what you should be investing time into getting better at. I could have spent my time trying to get good at Widowmaker, for example, but I already felt like I was doing okay on Zenyatta, so getting even better on him was just that much easier for me. So always look for heroes that you get that sort of feeling for and focus on getting really good on them. Don't worry too much about forcing yourself to learn other heroes for filling's sake. You'll eventually get to play other heroes as well and expand your roster, but having a handful of heroes at your disposal that you exceed at is just a very powerful tool to have. I think that those are the most crucial things you guys should bring to the table when it comes to optimizing yourself in a technical and gameplay sense. Everything else kinda comes with experience, like getting better on a mechanical level, fine-tuning your DPI and sensitivity, etc. To wrap this video up, I'd like to give you guys some tips on when it comes to which mentality you should approach and which mentality you are likely going to encounter when entering competitive play. Do not expect players to do the right thing at any given point in time. Always expect them to misplay, expect them to not know obvious things, and expect them to be about as stupid as you can imagine. That's just to shield yourself from other people's stupidity. You're going to be pleasantly surprised if you get a good team and less upset if you get a bad team. When it comes to Overwatch, there are a lot of misconceptions floating around. A lot of players are under the impression that their rating is half of what it should be. Overconfidence is pretty much omnipresent, and that's something you will have to deal with. The most important thing is honestly to just not let it get to you. Just be aware that every division pretty much plays the game wrong in their own unique way. Try to adjust to that. If you watched a lot of top 500 streamers on Twitch, then don't try to force their way of playing on your platinum teammates. Your teams will not be playing optimally, but neither will the enemies. A misplay your teammate does could tempt the enemies to overextend, which in turn is something you can take advantage of. Honestly, one of the most powerful weapons in this game is simply being adaptive of the unique problems you face in each and every match. Don't try to behave like a babysitter who attempts to impose the right way of doing things on others. Try to rather behave like a good employee. You know that your supervisor is leading you to do something stupid at times, but rather than trying to tell him how to do his job properly, which definitely would piss him off, try to find a way to optimize the thing that he wants you to do. That doesn't mean that you should agree to do any single thing that obviously is not going to work out. It just means that if you have a team that very clearly refuses to play better, then you'll just have to try and make their wrong plays work as hard as possible. Not every game can be won. That's the reality. Every single player you meet loses just as many games as you for things that are not their fault. This game has just been built with team reliance to such an extreme extent that this is something that happens regularly. You play worse if you're tilted, so don't ever force yourself to play if you really don't want to, or if you can tell that the Kalita is not going anywhere this evening. So to end this video off, always be flexible. Don't hesitate to swap heroes if your pick is obviously not working. Try to work as much with your team as possible, even if the others seem less enthusiastic to do so, and keep focusing on your own improvement. Trust me, there is always, and I mean always, something that you specifically can improve at. But this is me done for the day, so I talk about how you should prepare yourself for ranked play in every way that I could come up with. If you enjoyed the video, then don't forget to drop me a like on your way out, subscribe if you want to see more, and I hope to see you all next time.